My name is Bolaji Salahu. You can call me Bolaji. If you're not full, if you are not from where I'm from. Yeah. And just in the next 15 minutes, just tell you one of those things about basically my immigration story so far. I'm an immigrant from Nigeria. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. Somewhere sits somewhere in the western part of Africa, bordered by Atlantic Ocean in the south. I lived in Lagos for many years. That's the commercial capital of Nigeria. I arrived in Calgary about some few months, less than 2 years now, in 2022. And by way of background, I have a bachelor's degree in pharmacy from my home country. I saw someone that finished from my alma mater today. I finished from UI. I think if you want to learn university in Nigeria, you should know that. Then I have a master's degree in business administration. I have certification in data analytics and then some personal training also in data analytics. But for work experience, I'm presently now in data analytics. But previous to my moving into data analytics, I had successful stints in sales, marketing, business development. And sometimes when I look at this, I think to myself that someone will see this and say, he's a pretty confused human. He started from pharmacy, then started selling, and then now he's into data. But I tell you, there is a common trend that joins all this, and it's the fact that I like problem solving, and I like thinking through issues and then creating solutions, whether it be trying to get the right medication for a patient or trying to craft out a great sales strategy and I was involved in launching many brands while I was in Nigeria, or now using data to answer business questions. So I'm not confused. there's a common a trend that kind of joins all this. Why did I immigrate? Of course, I heard about immigration for so many years and I didn't move until 2022. And the basic reason was because of a better life. Not that my life was worse, not that my life was terrible in my own country. No, that's not that. But I felt that in a Western country, in a developed country, the chances of having a better life are kind of way better than coming from a developing country. Better life for myself and my wife and children. So I came with my family when I immigrated in September 2022. Better platform and experience for our children also. That's a big reason why we also did that move, myself and my wife and our 2 children. Of course, they didn't have a partner in our decision. We just carried them along, believing that, like Tim said, one day they will understand the reason why we did that and the sacrifices we had to make and the boldness and courage we had to summon. And of course, we want, for myself and my wife, we wanted better professional lives and career, better quality of life. This is important. And remember, while if you've ever been to Lagos before, just picture Toronto, and then maybe make it 1.5 more. So I remember towards the time when we were planning to relocate, I'll wake up early or stay up at night, about 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Canadian time. I'll go to Google Map, look at the traffic in Vancouver, look at the traffic in Toronto, look at the traffic in Calgary, and sit it because I told myself, what I experienced, I don't want to experience again. So better quality of life. And of course, for some of us that come from the part of Africa, we have big social structures, so we want to take care of our extended family members back at home. So that's another big reason why I moved. I had some expectations. I'll leave you to judge whether they were small or big. Yeah, I said I wanted to have a job before or after I landed, shortly after I landed, and then I wanted to get accommodation within a week of landing. Yeah, I was crazy or not, I don't know. But those are the expectations. I wanted a job before I left my country or shortly after I landed within a week, and then get accommodation for my family within a week of landing. But it wasn't just wishful thinking. I put in a lot of effort while I was in my own country to this. I did a ton of research for job opportunities. So I knew the job opportunities that existed in the 3 cities that I was looking at, whether it would make sense for me to move to Vancouver, Calgary, Mississauga, Toronto, Ottawa. So I was looking at all those. I looked at accommodation. In fact, I marked it to know that the minimum salary, the minimum income the family had to make for us to break even. So I knew what it was. I wanted to break even in these cities. These are the minimum salary, minimum family income that we need to break even. Like I said, traffic. Yeah. You will not understand until you go to some cities that have big, serious traffic. Then of course I registered with, while it's still in Nigeria, I registered with some settlement agencies, SOPA, attended webinars, etc., etc., sent applications, looked for accommodation, did 2 virtual viewings. But the reality was that I got an apartment in less than 3 weeks. I think that was nice. But it took me 6 months to get my first one. And then, it's you that will know that it took you a while. I was speaking with a former colleague. She's still in Nigeria. And she was like, I thought it took you 2 months. I said, no, it took me 6 months to get the first one. And then that's the process. And I think I see a number of newcomers. That sounds funny. Newly arrived newcomers going through the same process. It's just a process, it's just a journey. Eventually, you will get your foot in the door. And then I want to, because of CRIEC, and also some things I've observed, I hope I am wrong, but it seems that a lot of newcomers don't make use of settlement services that are free. And I felt that it's a great platform to start on when you newly come. Like I said, I started using these services while I was in my own country. And maybe that helped me in being able to quickly integrate and start something. I hope I'm wrong, but it seems a lot of us don't use these settlement services that are free. Yeah, and then they are funded by the government to provide services and programs to help newcomers integrate successfully into the Canadian community. And then their services include, not limited to orientation, information, referral to other community programs and services. They are wonderful. If they don't have what you want or what you are looking for, they are usually happy to refer you to other settlement services, language classes for eligible newcomers. My English is not bad, so I didn't use that. Employment services, which I used, skills training. Yeah, my wife used this. She did a data analytics program, government funded. It will have cost us about $18,000, and then she got it funded by the government. Well, we were told not to say it outside so that somebody does not, shoot us. It's my tax money that they are using to train you guys. But really, these things are there for immigrants to quickly integrate into the Canadian society. And then for people that need foreign credential assessment, I would have used this if I wanted to continue as a pharmacist here, but I didn't use it. And then I also heard that they assist in registering children and finding healthcare. And then there are quite a number of settlement organizations in Calgary. Now I use CRIEC is on top because they are part of this. I'm not telling you to go to any, just give examples. Calgary Catholic Immigration Society, Immigrant Services Calgary, Center for Newcomers, SIWA. My experience, I joined CCIS, and then when I was going to have a presentation with them, I realized that my journey with CCIS actually started while I was in Nigeria, but their name was Aryee or something, because I saw that it's the email of my advisor when I was in Nigeria finished with CCI, because I didn't know the meaning until I got here. And then our first program with CCIS here in Nigeria, in Canada, was Calgary, a new chapter. It was like an orientation into the city, what we needed to do. I knew that sin is an important number for you to guard jealously, unless you want to become defrauded, etc. Then I attended ECW. Yeah, my ECW experience, ECW is called the Employment Communication Workshop, and then it's more like training you to be able to integrate into the Canadian job market, to get job easily. So we did a number of things, tailored resume. I used to think that you should not copy and paste what was in the job advert. That was what I was doing before. Then I was told that you need to write it verbatim the way they wrote it, but ensure that it's your experience. So I now realized why everybody called me while I was sending out the applications while I was in Nigeria. So these are things that are important, that the way you do it in your own country may be different from the way it's done here in Canada. And then if you don't, make use of these settlement services, you may not, you may just be pounding away at like a blocked, I don't know, pounding away at the door, at the wall when the door is just beside you. Effective use of LinkedIn, interview. I got some job referrals when I was in that class. Then we talked about volunteering and networking. And for me, I didn't understand what volunteering and networking is. Then I think 2 days ago, I was thinking about this, the conversation I had with you, and now I was like, I've been volunteering all my life. While I was in university, I served on some clubs, committees. While I was working in the religious organization I belonged to, I wrote almost on a monthly basis articles on healthcare. As I said, I was a pharmacist in my own country. I did a number of things. I was like, that's volunteering, but it looked funny to me because it wasn't called that way in my own country. Yeah, and then it was through my volunteering and networking that I became part of Untapped Energy. I remember my first conversation with Tim. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. He encouraged me to take part in the digital. Maybe we'll talk about it later, I don't know. And then that was one thing led to another, and I'm part of the Untapped Energy community. So by way of roundup, maybe what you can call advice from me, trying to maybe summarize my experience and what I would tell a newcomer if I see the person right now, is that before you leave your country, but that one is, you're already here. But even while you are here, ensure that the job or career you want exists in Calgary. Yeah, I knew when I made the decision to come to Calgary that I cannot continue. Okay, back in Nigeria, I was like a brand manager in the pharmaceutical industry. But I knew that the choice of Calgary means that I can't continue that line. Because if I want to continue in pharmaceutical sales and marketing, the job is in Ontario, Mississauga, Montreal, Toronto. So I knew that I couldn't continue in that line if I made the choice to come to Calgary. So it is important for you to know and understand whether the job or career you desire exists in Calgary, for example, or you may need to move to somewhere else or change what you want to do. The beautiful thing here is that you can easily pivot. There is a lot of flexibility here. If you're able to show to the employers that you have transferable skills, you can easily pivot your career here. So that leads to the second advice: appropriately match your skills and competencies. So if you are like me, that you have several competencies, you can become distracted. And I've seen immigrants that were not able to make up their mind on which way they want to go. And 2 years after, they still don't know what they want to do. And 2 years have passed. And some of us, we've grown a bit older before we came to Canada, so you don't have a ton of time to waste. So I always advise, just sit down. you may be doing a survival job just to make ends meet, but you must be clear cut, crystal clear what you want to do. It's easier said than done. I too, when I didn't get a job for the first 5 months, I was doubting whether I made the right decisions. Yeah, that may come, especially when you are looking at your account and the expenditure, and there's nothing called clean entering your account. It can be tough, but it's important for you to do that. Yeah, a friend of mine finally is qualified as a pharmacist, but I think he wasted, I don't know, 1 or 2 years because he wasn't sure what he wanted to do. Then also perfect the art of writing well-tailored resume and cover letter. I came to understand from my using the settlement services that it is not a scattered gun approach when it comes to getting an interview here. You have to tailor your resume and cover letter to every application. Now, I'm not qualified to teach you that. I can give you advice, but I would advise that you look for the settlement service, because they have people that are paid and trained to help you with that. Then proactively search for jobs. Use LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, Monster. Proactively ask them, search for jobs, and prepare for every interview. Yeah, I did a couple of interviews before I finally got the job I'm doing now. And of course, with every no, you can become demoralized, but you have to prepare for every interview. I remember when I was preparing for the interview for the job I'm doing now, the person that took me through ECW had a session with me just to kind of mock interview with me, and she asked me to go and prepare for a particular question. And when I got to the interview and the interviewer asked me almost the same question, I was in my head, gotcha, I know I'm going to get this job. Because I really prepared for that question, and then she asked a question that is very similar to what I prepared for. And of course, I was able to nail the interview. When I got home, I told my wife, the only reason why I may not get this job is if they think I'm overconfident. That may be the reason why I will not get this job. And then of course, volunteer and network. You never can tell. You may get a job through volunteering and networking, and you may not, but you become a part of the community. You start growing your community. I don't want to use the word community, but you start building your connections, because we left all our connections from our own country. We need to build new ones here, and the team has been very helpful to me in helping me, do things that I may not be doing on my present job, but I used to do before. And I'm working with him on a micro learning platform, and I've been able to use some skills that I don't use presently on my job now, but that I have and I love using. I've been able to use it with him to kind of develop this program, and hopefully very soon we'll launch it and then have it. Yeah, I believe in God, and that's my anchor. I don't know what your anchor is, but you must have an anchor, and that will keep you moving on, because it's a process. Like what he said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You get a number of some people will get so many no's, some will get few, some will get a little. You never can know where you will stay, which bucket you will fall. But you must have that faith, that fortitude to know that it's a process, that for every no means a step towards yes. Yeah, immigration can be tough sometimes, but I can tell you that if you have an anchor, if you have faith, and have faith in yourself, have faith that you can do it, know that when they tell you no, that means you are a step closer to yes. Eventually you will get there, and then you will flourish, and you will flourish.
Hi everyone, so my name is Rachel, and as you see here, from products to insights, my evolution into data science. I may not have a story like Bolaji's. I am currently a student at the University of Calgary studying my master's in data science and analytics. So he may be more seasoned than I am, but this is a different perspective. So I will not bore you too much though. So I'm just going to walk you through my journey. I mean, we could go all the way back to when I was born, but we'll just go like 5 years back. So 2019, I completed my undergrad in computer engineering. And I mean, someone would think, computer engineering, oh wow, we have so many options. But then there's the downside to that, because I finished school, I was excited and everything, but there's so many options. What do I choose to do? Which career path am I actually taking? But then in 2020, in 2019, I started, back in my country, there's this thing where you serve the country for 1 year. Basically, it's called national service. So I did that in a technical role as an application support engineer. So working server-side stuff, clients, I was basically troubleshooting, helping clients with issues that they had, and it was fun. I mean, one thing I think I was confused about was how technical do I want to be? I have a bachelor's in computer engineering, but how do I want to be coding every day? I mean, I wasn't wearing glasses in 2019, but here I am now. Yeah, so, I mean, we think of all those things. So in 2020, I accidentally landed this role in product management. Basically, someone sold me the idea, it's in the same company, sold me the idea of a solutions architect, right? But then at that time, I'm like, solutions architects are a little more experienced. I mean, if you know what the solutions architect is, but I mean, I like the idea. So I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. And then I got in the role and I realized it was product management. I'm like, why do I always have to be in meetings? Why am I responsible for someone's work? But then eventually, this detour that I thought I didn't exactly like, I realized it was a good detour. I mean, now, when I think about it, and people look at my experience and stuff, and they're like, oh, I really like your background and how things work. So, one thing I would say is, wherever you find yourself, there's a reason you're there, right? I mean, show up, do what you need to do. It will eventually pay off, I guess. Yeah. So in 2021, so basically when I finished school in 2019, I'm a big planner, just so you know. So I already had plans. I'm working for 2 years, and then in 2022, I'll go back to school and further my studies. So then in 2021, I mean, I'm not old enough to say I had a midlife crisis, but then I had something of that sort. I was like, what is the career path I'm actually choosing? Because I was in this PM role. I liked it, but not to the extent that I thought I would want to pursue a career in it. So then I had 3 options. I liked graphic design and all of that. So I'm like, oh, maybe I want to be a UI UX designer. Then I thought of software development. But I'm like, I have friends who are doing that, and do they have lives? I really don't think I want to do that. So then there was data science. So I had the opportunity to intern in 2018 with IBM. Sorry, I didn't mention I'm from Ghana. Yeah, in West Africa, all the way somewhere. Yeah. So I interned there, and that is when I was introduced to data science. So from 2018, this data science thingy was in the back of my mind. And then I kept reading about it, watching videos, tried a few Coursera courses that I never finished. And so that was my third option. And then I did all the introspection, shed a few tears because I was overwhelmed, and I chose to do data science. So I was like, how do I break into this field? Like I mentioned, Coursera courses. But I guess I needed deadlines to be chasing me to actually finish them. So the self-learning, I'm sure there are people who can relate. But so I never really finished any of those courses, just touching bits and pieces. So then I thought, okay, I think I want to go back to school now. Plus my 2022 plan, so let's do that. So I did all my research, and then I was, let me take you back to when I was in elementary school. there was this project that we're giving. Every single person in class was to represent a certain country, and for some reason I got Canada. So I knew so much, kind of speak English and French and the maple leaf and all the nice things. So I mean, from when I was like 10 or 12, I kept telling people I'm Canadian. So that was one of the reasons I thought of Canada, because I was like, oh, I want to visit, but then what if I can actually study? So then I did all the research and I found the University of Calgary, and I liked the data science program that I was seeing. I was like, oh, why not? I'm Canadian anyway, so yeah. So then in 2022, I did gain admission to UOC and in the Master of Data Science and Analytics program. And then, I mean, I thought my plan was working until the IRCC said, well, I mean, they delayed the visa processing. So I had to defer to 2023, and that is when I landed in Canada. So actually, I left Ghana exactly a year ago today. So yeah, yes, exactly. And yeah, so I guess that is where we are now. So I'm giving you the whole journey, right? So, and I'm giving you the reason I thought of Canada. I think one other reason I liked, I mean, all the research I've done was still in the back of my mind. So I knew that Canada was a multicultural place, so many different people, and I liked the idea of learning from so many different people, which I think I have started enjoying already. So yeah, that is why Canada. I've told you the why for data science, and yeah, basically I like the idea of how you can use seemingly meaningless data, right? And make sense out of it, use it for predictions and insights and use to solve problems. And yeah, I just like the idea. So that is why data science. So then, now, I'm a soon-to-be grad, and I'm interning with Untapped Energy and as a project manager, and with another company called Brainstem Alliance, and I'm working as a data and product analyst. So one thing I would say is, one thing I think I'm even embracing and understanding is my project management or product management past is still chasing me. So I'm like, I thought I'd left that. I'm becoming a data scientist. Why? Can you leave me alone? But I mean, you can even tell with this internship, I'm doing project management and some sort of data over here, and I am still figuring out how to merge the two, because I think that the experience I had as a product manager is still very relevant and makes a lot of sense. So now I'm trying to figure out how to put the two together. So as I'm standing here, I don't have everything figured out. Yeah, some of my plans are out the window, but yeah, it's okay. We live in the moment, right? So yeah, so my program, let me tell you my experience in the UFC program. I would say that I've had a transformative time. I've met a lot of people. One of them is here, Bernice. She was my group. Shout out to Bernice. So I've met a lot of people from different countries, different backgrounds, and I think you get to learn so many different things from different people. I learn a certain way, I understand things a different way. Other people have different experiences, and everyone comes together and gives you a holistic experience. And I think that one thing I do enjoy, the program gives you all the basics from statistics and probability to machine learning and concepts in AI and all of that, and equips you to eventually solve problems using data and all the data skills that you've acquired. And I think another standout feature is you work on hands-on projects. So every single course that you do, I think there are about 8 of them, and you have a project to deliver at the end. So then everything you're learning, you are applying, right? And it makes a lot of sense, because you can't just keep reading, going to class. yawning and wondering when the class will end, and then not exactly apply, because application then solidifies your knowledge, right? So yeah, I think that has been, I think, something that stands out in the program for me. Yeah, and then I think one thing that I did enjoy, one thing that drew me to the UFC program is you have to do a compulsory internship during the summer. It wasn't easy to find an internship, but I think that it gives you a way to get into the industry, right? And you can apply, and I mean internships, people will not assume that you know everything. That's how you get to learn, apply things that you learned in class and all of that. So yeah, I think I had a few other things to say. I'm trying to remember, but yeah. If you have any questions, I'm around. But yeah, another thing with settling down, I think that like you mentioned, I didn't have any idea of these established organizations like CRIEC or any of these other ones. I did the work I needed to do, reached out to people on LinkedIn. Oh, I see you're in Calgary, you've done the UFC program. What can you tell me? How can you help me? And there's this one guy that has actually been like an unofficial mentor from even when I was back in Ghana, telling me what to study to prepare, how to prepare to come to Canada. Because I know nobody here, I'm the only one here. So every connection I've made is through basically put yourself out there. Because I'm a very quiet person, I'd rather not speak. But you can't do that as a newcomer here. You will be alone. Yeah, and coming from where I come from, it's a very family-oriented culture. And it seems, one culture shock was, I think it's a very kind of individualistic culture here. So it's kind of, if you don't put yourself out there, you'll be alone. And you cry in your room and wonder why you don't have friends. But I think that's one thing that I've learned. And I don't have too much of advice because I'm still learning. But I think everything I've said coupled with Rockology and all the other people will say, I guess, will be good information for you. So I think I'll end with this. This is the mantra I live by. That the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. And you don't want to die, right? When you stop growing, you die. Yeah. So in your professional life, I've had it in school, in my personal life as well. Today I ask myself, how am I better today than I was yesterday? Because I want to keep growing, and I will encourage everyone to do that too.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank you to the previous speakers for your presentation. So the bar is really high, so we kind of a little bit challenged to be that way, but I will try to do my best. And thank you everyone to be here with us, as the team mentioned. So I'm seated on the board, so I'm also kind of one of the volunteers for Untapped. And I used to be one of the coordinators, so I have been kind of a little bit outside of that role the last 2 months, but still involved with the community and with the tech sector here in Calgary. So I will share with you some of my kind of a background, my stories related with a little bit with data management and integration. So that a little bit about myself. So I was born in Chile, so I was raised in Venezuela. So I would say that Venezuela is my hometown. So the last 16, 17, 18, 19 years I have been here in Calgary. So I live in Calgary with my wife, Liliana. We have a son, Sebastian, who was born here 14 years ago. And we have 2 dogs, right? So kind of so we have kind of a happy family. Right? So we have been quite fortunate. So we love outdoor activities. I think this is a great option, especially here in Calgary and Alberta. And ski season is amazing. I just mentioned the ski season because when you are the immigrant, in my case, we don't have 4 seasons. We just have 2 seasons back home. So winter is challenging. So one of my recommendations, suggestions for a lot of people as a newcomer would be, and I think one of our previous speaker mentioned that kind of when they were talking about faith, really try to kind of grab something, because especially the winter that is so long, right? So for me, so that faith or that kind of a hobby has been changing through the time, right? I have not been skiing for 18 years, but I have been skiing for 6, 7 years. And that's kind of important here. So I will, and that's also come when you engage with the community and you increase your network, that will definitely read more in the rest of the presentation. So, kind of a few questions about how, why we moved to Canada, and what kind of resources we use. So, it's kind of the same story that our previous speakers who have an international experience. So, we're a young couple, with interesting career back home, but also learn about other cultures as well. So, and to be happy as well, to find happiness, be able to find kind of to put together a family, right? So that was one kind of the main reasons, and Canada seems to be a good fit for that, right? So it was close, not so far away, a little bit different options. So cultural perspective was not way different than to Venezuela, and then also the possibility to have experience and be able to find happiness as well. So regarding the support and what kind of resources, so I really like the presentation for our first speaker. So when he was mentioning different organizations, right? So, and also Rachel, she mentioned as well that understanding the process and a lot of investigations when you are back home. So I think so it's quite important. And understanding the immigration process, not just to become an immigrant, so I'm understanding what resources and what options we have available when you landed or after you landed. That will be quite important. As the sooner you do that, the better it will be for you to find a job, to try to kind of find an educational option as well. So that would be really important, right? So understanding the job market, you're looking for a job, would be ideal as well. And then also increase your local network, right? That would be kind of so they mentioned about that. So social media like LinkedIn, Meetup group, immigration organizations. So they mentioned Calgary Immigration Society, they mentioned Calgary Women's Association, they mentioned CRIEC. So all those are great resources, and then tons of resources. And also try to engage in the voluntary role, right? Try to engage and come to those kind of meetups. So those are great venues for networking, and networking is quite important. So it's something that you should take advantage and really take advantage of all the kind of advices that our previous speaker talked about, because they really make a difference, right? So then on the next slide, I just wanted to give you a little bit flavor of my professional background and a little bit try how to kind of land and use those kind of resources here, right? So kind of a little bit myself, I have a chemical engineering degree. So it's, and before moving here, so I realized that I had to kind of become, in order to work as an engineer and be recognized as an engineer, I have to be accepted by the regulatory body that was APEGA, right? And even before APEGA, I also found about IQS assessment for employment education licensure. And that's an organization that is owned by the government of Canada. And in some way, what I did is that I wrote to them my chemical engineering degree from back home in order to have an assessment from a body recognized by Alberta government. How was the current role that I have here in Canada, and what kind of jobs and what kind of career would be equivalent? And with that, and then able to have some experience, I was able to get my APEGA certifications years later. So, and all this information was through all those resources that some of those already kind of speakers mentioned here. So it's quite important, right? And that's, for me, in my case, saved me a lot of time and facilitated a lot my certification to APEGA and be able to be a professional engineering member recognized by the provinces of Alberta, right? So then, if you speak languages, it's really important, and then you have to showcase that. So in my case, I speak Spanish, French, and English, right? Also try to get in touch with the community, right? So let's say that in my case, I was involved with the Alliance Française, they run clubs, it's a kind of a culture hub for French speakers, but also there's Spanish and as kind of speakers as well. I don't know the Latin American community and the Spanish is actually growing so fast. So, and doesn't have to be exactly those, it's just one example, but that's quite active and quite dynamic. So everywhere where you come from, try to engage with the local communities and also with other communities as well. So if you have a hobby, right, from the cultural perspective, or you do a sport, right? So in my case, I practice judo. I haven't practiced different sports, and as I say, my hobby has been changing, right? So I used to practice judo when I was a kid, and then I come back to university, and then moved to Canada and never went back, right? So I combined it with the judo, but right now I'm also sitting on the board for the judo club that I'm training with them, right? So, and the contacts that I have from the judo community is so important for me because there's people from every place. People from Ukraine, people from Afghanistan, people from Middle East, people from Latin America, and it's awesome because you start to engage with the community and develop relationships that will be really important for your day-to-day life. So then so if you have more education, that would be awesome, but you also need to try to showcase that. So how those post-secondary studies, or what else you can do as a post-secondary studies that you have something in mind, right? So depending on your job search investigations, or what you need, or what you want to do. In my case, I was fortunate to have maybe be able to do a petroleum engineer, master, also instrumentation, process control, and then also ended later in life with the COVID time. So for different reasons, I ended to finally do a master on data science, right? So, and that's it's something as well related with not just your passion, also what you want to do and what kind of a job you want to keep going, or you want to keep progressing your professional development, right? So then your professional experience, so what we did back home, and how that matched potential opportunities here in Calgary, right? So in my case, so I have background experience in energy sectors and the technology sector, right? So, and then how that kind of alignment is related here. So who control, for example, the energy sector here? So we have an AR, Alberta Energy Regulator, that is important body here. So that puts a lot of kind of information around that. So you maybe need to understand that and get engaged and get in touch with meetups like this, but maybe on the AR sector, right? So, and also venues like this platform. This is awesome. It's not just running meetups. There's a lot of resources here available, especially for the tech, but also for other areas, right? And be able to as Rachel say, put you out there, but promote, showcase yourself, because that's quite important. And network here is really important. So try to take advantage of every opportunity that you have in order to try to meet people, because you never know what kind of options or resources you can have out there. So when just to give a little bit more of a data science speed to that, because we're in the data science environment, right? So it's in my case, I have been always involved in the energy sector, right? So with oil and gas operators since back home, right? So but always exposed to data, right? So and the data has been changing. So I'm from the generation before the internet, so it was a big change for us. I used to be a savvy on Excel. And I was really expert in Excel. I still, feel comfortable with my level of access, but things has been progressing. So internet is just a thing from the past right now. We have social media, and right now we have Python. And then through that time, I thought a lot that data was becoming even more important. So by the need of my professional work, I was forced to be able to be more data savvy and more data technology savvy to the day-to-day job. And that's why I get into data analytics through my work. And actually right now, so that's I've been working all my life. I work as a subsurface engineer, right? So production reservoir facilities, right? So I'm always dealing with that. So I start with queries in Excel, and then learning different languages, right? From background from university, and then with internal training or my own training, and then and those days I ended with the master in Georgia Tech, and I learned or I can improve my skills with Python. And for example, right now, application that we need. So right now, I manage a subsurface group, and we have a tons of data, pressure, temperature, flows, and what we do is just we interact and we combine different databases from different places. We develop a Power BI dashboards. We do some programming to try to get those queries using Python. So there's a lot of tons of application, right? So
my name is Viviana. As you noticed before, I was invited to come today by T, and I say I have nothing to say because I have no clue about data analytics. I have no idea about what you guys are talking about. I was so lost in Yogi's presentation. It's like, oh, what is he talking about? So I can barely, see the difference between an apple and a Mac or whatever. For me, it's the same. So I was thinking about, okay, how do we put a frame to this? And my expertise is in immigration. And everything we have been talking about until now, and I think it's going to be going on and on, is related to immigration. And everything that we have in Canada is regulated by the immigration law, okay? So I was looking into, okay, what do we have in this immigration law that is telling us where is data science coming in the picture, and why do we need so many people in data science, okay? Because that's what you hear, and that's what people is telling you. So if you look into the law, immigration law, there are several things, objectives that the immigration law have, but in some of them, you will notice that it's looking into economic benefits for the community, right? So if you're looking at the third one, says a strong and prosperous Canadian economy. So everything that we are, not everything, I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of things are related to immigration and why people is moving to Canada is just to run the economy. That's the reason why, that's one of the reasons why government wants people to come to Canada. So based on that, government have been working in a plan for immigration. And if you put together the whole plan, is basically looking into making sure that newcomers feel welcome. And that's the background of the whole plan. So there are several actions that government have been taking to make sure that people feel welcome. And these actions are related to temporary immigration and permanent immigration. So right here you will see, like, when someone needs to hire someone that is not a PR or a citizen, they need to apply for a process. The name of that process is an LMIA. So when people is looking for an employment in Canada, and if they are not PR or they are not citizens, they need, in some cases, they need to apply for an LMIA, right? So you will see one of the ways how Canada is welcoming new people as a temporary resident. And you will notice that one of the strategies is related basically to technology. If you go to the third one, it says right here, how to support new people who wants to work in Canada, who is able to develop and support technology. And I'm listening to Rachel, she's right now a student, and one of the plans that government have in place is basically, okay, what do I do to get this student to be working and to get meaningful employment? That's the plan, right? So all of those services that government have been funded by federal government and the province, and you will see that one of the plans right now is like, how do I get a student to get a postgraduate work permit, and then how to link that postgraduate work permit to meaningful employment, and how do I make sure that this person is getting the job that they want. So those are strategies that you will see that they are in place by government to support new people coming to Canada. And there are additional strategies like international agreements. Canada has several free trade agreements with people from I shouldn't say everywhere, but several countries. You will see what I was looking at here is like, what of those agreements do keep into consideration data analytics? And I was so impressed when I said to Tim, I just going to look into some information, like many of the agreements are considering people that is in what you guys are doing. So this is CUSMA. CUSMA is like the mother and father of all the agreements. The other agreements that follow CUSMA. And this is between Canada, Mexico, and the US. And you will notice right there that you have people that is related to what you do, right? And if you're looking into Europe, it's the same. You will say that, you will notice that data science is considered into the professionals that Canada is looking for to come and work in Canada as temporary workers. If you look into, let's say, Asia, Japan, the same again. So it's so interesting how you see so many strategies in place to support newcomers who come as temporary workers to Canada, right? There is this global talent skills that is just a way for employers to get people who are temporary workers, again, to Canada. And I just brought the NOC because the NOC is so important when you're looking into those agreements. Everything, as I said before, is going to be legislated. And when you put a name to a profession, you have a number for that profession. So looking into the agreements, looking into the notes, we're looking exactly the same number in the national occupation, many places for temporary employment. This is from Alberta government. If you look into data scientists, is a profession that is in high demand at the moment. So I'm hoping that this is going to be supported by the province and federal government. So the thing is that when you have someone who is moving to Canada, you have like different layers of immigration. You have a province and you have the federal government. So the province of Alberta is one of those provinces that have a specific program for people in data science, and it's right here. And then if you look into our neighbor BC, they also have a program for priority technologies occupations, and you again have data science right there. And for permanent residency, there was a change like 3-4 years ago, and now we have a category-based selection, and you will notice too that we have data science right there. So if you put everything together, you will notice that whatever you're looking and whatever you're checking in immigration, data is right there. It's one of the things that people need here in Canada, employers need, and that's the reason why our government is putting so many things and programs together to support people not only to come to Canada, to stay in Canada. Okay?
My name is Darlington Etaje, and I didn't prepare my presentation like the others because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm selling something all the time. Okay, so just mind the. But I will make it an entrepreneurial journey. So I came to Canada 9 years ago in August this year as a student, and unlike everyone who wants a job, I want to be an employer of labor, and it's strange. So when I came here, the first 3 months, I was going everywhere, going for all the meetups and everything. But eventually I learned that you really have to know your stuff before you can push around, right? And so I did a master's for 3 years and a PhD for 5 years. And I finished August last year, convocation at the UFC in November last year. So now I have a startup, it's called Hydrosim. The logo of that is Physics Inspired Drilling Simulator Corporation. Very boring, I know. But the basics is that we are able to simulate drilling processes in the oil and gas industry, and we're able to do some predictions and show some pages that are important. Basically, one of the biggest things I've learned, I've also been part of Platform Calgary. I was part of this thing they're doing now, and so many incubator programs, is defining what your product is, and at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you know what you're selling and you are able to talk about it, right? So for me, we put a lot of drilling software together to make a drilling software suite that can optimize drilling processes, and we incorporate AI, some analysis from AI. And of course, we are trying to make things faster. So in terms of drilling, there's a cost of drilling which is expensive onshore here and offshore, several other places. And we want to make sure that we're reducing that cost as much as possible. And so at the end of the day, looking at my story, I have in several ways grown in defining what the product is and what it really does. And this is my own immigration story, right? So it's the fact that I have said it in different funny ways, and I have refined it and gone for competitions and lost a lot of times. I remember having my whole family for a $3,000 competition and lost, right? And I don't have a car at the time, so it was a difficult drive home. But whilst they're talking to you about you wanting to have a job and not giving up, as an entrepreneur as well, do not give up. You keep working on your idea and make sure you are able to change. Okay, as the feedback from the customer is changing, you want to make sure you're not just driving your bedroom dream, that you're driving a dream that will meet the needs of the people that will buy your products, right? And so that reduction in drilling cost is key for me. And then who needs us? Okay, so for me, what you're seeing here is something that has been changing over the years because the oil and gas industry is so large. And I'm like, hey, Suncor is my customer. How, right? It's such a big organization. But now I know that, first of all, for me to get into the industry, somebody needs to take me in there. And the people who will take me in there are the measurement while drilling companies, the drilling data companies, and the downhole tool company. In fact, today, a downhole tool company sent me an email to say, look at the list of problems we have, and we're paying Hollywood $12,000 for this. We changed, and if you incorporate this into your app and give us a lower cost, of course, then we can work with you, and you're willing to take me to field testing. Now, to get to this stage, I have gone for several of these competitions. I'm not afraid of losing and improving myself till today, and there are some benefits. But along the line, I haven't gotten that field trial and field experience with them. We will now refine the product further again and present it to the directional drillers and other companies and further give it to the bigger boys, right? So this is the kind of process that I'm going through. These are some of the apps, and I'll tell you about data science and the whole software thing. We get so, at one point I was getting so interested, hey, I want to learn Python, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. You know what? Even with Excel spreadsheet, a lot of you might not know, you can actually build apps in Excel. Excel has a coding platform apart from the regular one. There's another platform, I've forgotten the name, but I've used it before in the past. So I am an expert in MATLAB, and initially I thought when I learned MATLAB I know everything, but I eventually realized that there's so many things out there and it keeps changing and it keeps improving. But if you have domain knowledge in one area, deep down till you really know it. And eventually, in digging down in MATLAB, I realized there's a MATLAB app designer. So even though I'm not a software developer, but with MATLAB app designer, I can present my apps, I can show the clicks and all the wonderful things it can do. And at the same time, I can now gain some funding, and it has happened for me. So these are some of the apps. There's the talk and drag app, the anti-collision app, and well control app. These are very complicated things, but I've been able to take them from my research platform, which is just raw code, into a package platform and then talk to customers that way. The benefits of the apps that you're seeing there, especially the collision app. So the collision app is, in Alberta you have several wells already drilled in the 90s and all of that. And now you're drilling a new well. The last thing you want is to collide with an existing well that's producing oil, right? It's going to be very expensive. So we've found a way to showcase where you are compared to the object wells. Competitive advantage. Now, one of the key problems is that so many of the softwares are sold in different versions and different apps. We're bringing everything together and able to incorporate new issues into this one platform that will be responsive. So if I change something in the well plan because of the anti-collision issues, it will automatically change things in the talk and drag aspect as well. So this is really responsive all the time. Of course, the core value is accountability and being able to be accountable for all the values and the results that the apps are going to give. And the only way you can be properly accountable is that you do lots of trials and you have partners and you're seeing from different views what you're doing. We have support. We've gotten an upwards of $100,000 from NRC IRA. They just also paid it for IP strategy. Lawyers are expensive, so they are the ones paying my lawyers for my IP strategy and IP strategy implementation. I want to thank my boss, I call him my boss, team, because he has really encouraged me. I met him in 2019 and it has been a wonderful experience with him. and I'm going to stick around here for a long time.